Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Duke of Italy, your favorite lo-fi darkness music YouTuber today because I was going to record 6 hours ago and it's now 11:30 at night and I turned this light on and now I realize that this was actually quite an alluring and interesting shot. If only I used such excellent shot design on my recent senior thesis project to complete my film major. But you know, wastes of $100,000 aside, let's talk about some nu metal today, because we talked about some last time. There were some good albums, and there were a lot more bad albums, and I'm very excited to get into these new ones. Once again, I'd like to shout out my friend Jen, who drew the thumbnail for this video, last video, next video, and the video after. The only thing I added was the text, because Jen didn't put in a part number for me. Can't even rely on these people anymore. But jokes aside, Jen is a fantastic artist. Please follow Jen on Instagram. Great person, great artist. Follow Jen. But that being said, you know, we're here to learn more about the trends, the trials, and tribulations of such an interesting genre. And today we're going to start off with American Head Charge with The War of Art. Quite an interesting name there. If you guys heard me talk about Dry Kill Logic last time and the sort of crossover between metalcore and nu metal, this was a very brief sort of idea now, but people such as the drummer in my own band do believe that nu metal and metalcore have crossed over more than this, and it's more of a modern thing. But if you look back and you see bands like Dry Kill Logic and American Head Charge, you see it has happened before. Unfortunately, it's not as many bands as some of the other movements. The post-grunge crossover is much more common. The fake Korn, Slipknot bands are also here. The sort of emo-influenced bands probably have an equal amount of influence as the metalcore ones. But here, we also get a little bit of death metal influence in sheer terms of like the chugginess of the riffs. They're very deep and very heavy. Although part of it is cringe because it does fall into many of the potholes of nu metal at the time, the instrumental is overall very strong. So when you hear people talk about Limp Bizkit, really they'd be talking about this band. There is a track with a 7/8 and 6/8 polyrhythm, which is insane. The vocals actually remind me a bit of Scott Kelly from Neurosis of all people. And other than that, this album does, of course, have the nu metal pitfalls, as I mentioned earlier. A bit of the metalcore influence, bit of the death metal influence. It's quite an interesting album. Unfortunately, it doesn't edge out to be as perfect as these other ones here. It does kind of end up having too many cringe moments to fully recommend, but I think it's just interesting enough, and its quality is more than enough for this early nu metal scene. So I think giving it a good is justified. And after this, we have Morning View by Incubus. If you're an Incubus fan, which, to be honest, you just might be, you will probably know that this is not a very much nu metal album, and it is not. Which I guess I'll mention Science for a second here. I was going to review this as a bonus on the final video, but I guess I'll just touch upon it now because I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. Science by Incubus is like this weird avant-garde funk metal album here, but it's not as avant-garde as it thinks it is. It wants to be something more interesting. It wants to be so cool and artistic. It's like Baby's first avant-garde metal album. And even at that, it's not that avant-garde. It's not very dissonant. It's weird, but it's not that gripping. The vocals are super weak. And I like this guy's singing. I think it's pretty good. I don't know his name, but whatever. But Science, I don't find to be the best nu metal album or the best Incubus album. I think Morning View is a decent amount better. One, because of the song Wish You Were Here, I've literally known since I was probably 6 years old, but that song is a banger. And in the midst of all these songs here, it does blend a little bit, but just how loud it is has certainly some cool influence on your experience of the project. And the turntables, you know, they do sound a little out of left field to like a first-time listener, but I do think overall they fit better than they would have earlier. But this is Incubus with a lot of dream pop influence and a lot of alt-rock influence. Not as much absurd nu metal rapping, which he had before. It was rap metal, which was its biggest problem. It does manage the quirkiness that Incubus goes for, but it does it a lot better. I will say the B-side is, for most part, fantastic. And it sounds great overall. The guitar tones are very strong. And the last song is like this weird down-tempo ambient song. It makes no sense, I'll be honest. And it's clear that Incubus does not have a lot of great influences here as much as they have a desire to do something different. And as outsider as it is, I think it's kind of unique and interesting. I think this album's good. Unfortunately, the good albums have stopped because we've reached Kid Rock, Devil Without a Cause. This is the album with Bad with Daba, or Bad with Daba. it's not a word. I've always thought the song sounded stupid and just was stupid. And here's the funny thing. It's like off key. Like the notes are wrong. Literally the guitar solo doesn't work. None of that stuff works. Like if you guys watch What Makes This Song Stink, the guy talked about a different Kid Rock song, which was All Summer Long. This has like the same problems. It's also like poorly mixed. Like just the hook is not as catchy as you'd want it to be. The rapping is, it's Kid Rock rapping. But this album, other than that, doesn't really even touch upon nu metal that much. It's never as hard hitting or gripping or even as fun. The bars could often be worse, but not that much worse. You know, there are some of the sort of triumphant bars about struggle and making it where he is now. And if I didn't know that Kid Rock was a rhinestone cowboy, then I'd actually think they're pretty good. Only God Knows Why is just awful. One of the worst songs here. He also says the N-word on the last track, if you guys didn't know that. So, I mean, not to get too political. I don't like getting political on this channel. And you know, you could be whatever views you want to be. But it's really bold of Kid Rock to be like, oh, people are offended and all this stuff nowadays. But like, I don't know, man, you said the N-word on your big breakout album. You're kind of, I mean, he's also like appropriating a lot of stuff that he knows nothing about. It's a poor album. It's not the worst one here. I mean, I won't lie. It's also like way too long. There's an Eminem feature on here. So if you like Eminem a lot, you might like that one song, but probably not. Those aside, we're in good territory again, because next is Slipknot's Iowa. I totally forgot I was going to talk about this one today, but I guess we will. I will say, of the first 3 real Slipknot albums, it's probably my least favorite. But it's got riffs, it's angry, it's very awesome. There are excellent performances all around. Joey Jordison on drums is a machine, and the guitar riffs are great. You got these groove metal riffs with a little bit of death metal going on. They are particularly heavy for nu metal. There are a lot of solid callbacks to sort of other metal genres, and the blast beats from Joey Jordison are, I don't think, in any other nu metal album. It is certainly nu metal, but some tracks like Left Behind very clearly give Slipknot some excellent and unique, charismatic performances that nu metal bands like Drowning Pool, for example, just would never get. I will say that this album has a lot more pop structure going on with the death metal influence underneath. It kind of reminds me of that one person who did the melodic death metal cover of, I believe, My Hero by Foo Fighters. It's on YouTube, but it does kind of remind me of this sort of combination of ideas here. The turntables do add a lot to this album. I don't think they do it as much on future Slipknot projects, but here they are great. And Iowa is an angry, very upset album, and it's one with a lot of riffs. Corey Taylor, what could I possibly say about his vocals that haven't been said already? There's a very, very high chance that if you came to this video from another, just looking through nu metal, you listened to this already, and for good reason, because it's simply a great album. And up next is Gift by Taproot. It's pretty heavy nu metal. The guitars are decent, but the vocals are so nasal that it's hard to give credit where credit is technically due. The hooks are decent, but not great. They use a lot of 3/4 sort of time signatures here, but like way too many. They do it too often, so it kind of loses its effectiveness. It does try to copy, I guess, System of a Down would be the closest band they would cover, but the ideas are so lacking that it can't possibly compare. The sort of mystical sense, I guess, is totally gone. The song I does go kind of hard, but of course, all the problems of this album still do show through. I do give this a poor, but I was considering giving it like an okay. So if you guys are desperate for one more nu metal album, then I guess Gift by Taproot is sort of one you can listen to. Next we have Cold with Year of the Spider, which is basically just self-loathing post-grunge. It's got some very heavy guitar, nu metal tone, I guess you could say, but the riffing is so weak. There are harsh vocals like pretty much just like once or twice on this album. They're really not done a lot, but they should be done a lot more because the clean vocals are actually just terrible. They're so whiny and they're so overdramatic. You can tell like they're not actually inspired to make this thing here. It's certainly an album that has like a high level of self-importance and thinks it's way better than it is. And for post-grunge, that is so bold to do because Post-grunge is not a good genre. Foo Fighters has that one great album, their second album, but it never claims to be any smarter than it is. It's honest, but thinking you're so smart is just not the move. Kind of the same problem as Drowning Pool, I guess. So this is poor. And next, we get a really weird pick on this chart. Papa Roach's Love Hate Tragedy. I don't know why the previous Papa Roach album wasn't picked, the one with Last Resort. This one has no hits on it. I like the opening hook on Last Resort. I don't like any other part of that album, though. But this album here is different because it's got a lot more emo whininess going on than what you'd expect on Last Resort. Not as much rapping either. In fact, almost none. There is a nice guitar tone. I will say that, but it is still melodramatic and overall cringe. It is thematically consistent. It's a whole lot about a breakup, but really there's not a lot of weight I can give to that. And of all the crimes that Papa Roach can have, being boring is the biggest problem here. So yeah, I don't think I need to explain myself any further. This is poor. And up next is Mushroomhead with Double X, or XX, if you will. It is a new metal band that is pretty different compared to all these other bands here. I guess closest you could compare them to are these sort of post-industrial crossover bands that I've been mentioning so far. I think I've only mentioned like one, but more will come. And they take that and they add some avant-garde metal, but it is completely lacking in substance, which is this thing's biggest problem. There's nothing hooking you. There's nothing that can grip you. It ends up being repetitive. It thinks it's so weird and crazy, but it just kind of does the same thing. It is completely devoid of ideas, and I don't know how you try to be so avant-garde and then miss that. The weird sort of sing rap style is not good, and the normal rapping is not good either. And this thing is produced so muddily. It is so underproduced that it is ridiculous. This thing sounds so compressed and bad. This thing nearly left me bored to tears. This takes pretty much every bad trend in nu metal and makes it worse, which makes this thing so incredibly painful to sit through. I don't recommend this album for anybody. This thing is poor. And that post-industrial stuff I was mentioning earlier, here we are with it. This band is called Orgy, and this album is called Candy Ass. This band influenced Coal Chamber a little bit. Other than that, they are forgotten to history for a good reason, because they suck. It is nu metal tinged industrial rock with various success, mostly basically none. It is aged incredibly poorly. There are a couple decent moments, but none is better than the cover of Blue Monday by New Order, which it kind of goes to show how lacking in quality this band is when their cover is the best song. But wow, is this production so incredibly rough. Just rough patches all over. For being post-industrial, you need good production because that thing is literally built from electronics. I don't know what you would do that is so like ignoring the quality of production. There are some okay moments, but nothing on here, nothing at all on here is better than any other industrial rock band. So this thing is just, it's lacking so much. I give it a poor. And last band today is POD with Satellite. If you guys ever saw that movie Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James, the movie about Kevin James becoming a UFC fighter to save his band program at his middle school, I believe. They were lacking in money. The sort of theme song of this movie is from this album here. So that should just tell you it's a great thing. So go ahead and listen to it. Hope you guys have a good day. All jokes aside, it's a bit of a slog to get through. It's not the worst album on here, but it's funny though. Apparently this band used to be Christian rock, which is awesome. Higher by Creed is a good song. And any of you that deny that is a stick in the mud. And when you reach the gates of heaven, they're going to ask you why you don't like that song. And you're going to have to say, because I don't like having fun. And then who's going to want you up there when you don't like having fun? But this is a pretty standard rap style nu metal, but it's not cringe at any point. The production is decent. That's really all I can say about it. It doesn't do anything cool. It doesn't do anything too bad. There are a few okay moments, barely scraping by. A riff here and there, a vocal line here and there. It's certainly no Deftones, but occasionally a riff will pull through with some quality. The song Boom is the song I was mentioning earlier from the movie Here Comes the Boom. That song does suck though, so you can just forget that one. This album really dies with a whimper though, as it sort of falls off towards the end without any more good ideas in the last couple tracks on the album here, which is really rough, and I hate to hear that, but you know, it's just the way these things go. And unfortunately, that is 10 albums, but we did talk about a couple good ones today, mainly just Slipknot, and that's going to be a thing you're going to see pretty much every part here. Is there's going to be one band that will shine above the rest, and that's just how it goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please follow my good friend Jen. Please follow me, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Discord page, where we can talk about things that aren't new metal, because I'm long past that in my listening by now. I'm just catching up on old stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Either way, I'd appreciate like and subscribe. Any comments, questions, or concerns, go ahead and comment down below. I will probably respond because I got nothing better to do. But that is about it. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Have a good day. Bye.